21 years in prison for a crime that was made up. Put the picture up, full mass. Damn shame. 49-year-old Ralph Blaine. Mr. Blaine, Ralph Blaine Smith of Ohio, spent 21 years in prison for an alleged crime that might not have even occurred. He was awarded $1.3 million from the state last month following a wrongful conviction claim. I'm going to give you background. He always maintained his innocence, so when his case was re-examined, prosecutors could not support with hard evidence the claims, the alleged crime he was imprisoned for. Let me give you the lawsuit. Smith's life took a turn on February 2nd, 2000, when a home in Pickerington, Ohio, was allegedly robbed in a home invasion. The residents of the home described the alleged armed robbers as black males wearing hats or hoods and masks, which concealed their faces below their eyes. The men asked the residents where their safe was and were told it was in the basement. Rudolph Rudy Valentino Stefantis and his wife Tricia were allegedly held at gunpoint as they made their way to the basement. The intruders allegedly stole $11,000 to $12,000 in cash, an unspecified number of rare comic books worth $4,000 to $6,500 worth of jewelry and cell phones. So after about 15 to 20 minutes, the intruders left the home. This is all part of their narrative. And the family went to a nearby relative's home to call the police. One responding officer had an initial impression. He doubted the veracity of the story, okay? He doubted it. Despite fresh snowfall on the ground, I want you to hear this. Despite fresh snowfall on the ground, which should have shown the robbers' footprints and their vehicle tire tracks, no footprints or tracks were present. Smith's lawsuit document described one officer was writing in his report. The police reports also indicate the house was largely undisturbed. The following day, the couple reportedly then gave a vague and contradicting description of the two robbers. They also failed to give a satisfactory sketch of the robbers or described the face coverings worn by the alleged intruders. They literally were getting the story wrong. Let's put it up. So you're looking at David Silvernail, a detective on the case, interviewed Dana Rowe, a person Rudy initially listed as a possible suspect, right? Rowe reportedly was shaking during the interview after being named a possible suspect. Rudy later told Silvernail he was certain of Rowe's involvement. But what's happening so far? There's an actual investigation. There's something that even the police are saying, we really don't believe this happened. We should probably be arresting them for filing a false report. But they don't. They continue with this investigation. And then a question is posed. Well, who do you think would do this to you? Sensing that they may be under suspicion themselves, they throw this individual at them. Oh, it's this person. You see, he's black. All right, that's all we need. Police get the information. Here's what happened. Smith's attorney accused Silvernail of failing to follow up investigating Rowe after the interview. Meanwhile, Rowe was friends with Smith's former girlfriend, Mary Office, who implicated Smith to the couple as the culprit of the robbery. That's according to Smith's lawsuit. All right, all this is in writing. As the investigation continued, the detective showed the victims a photo of Smith because the victims admitted they never saw him prior to their grand jury testimony, and no other evidence linked him to the case. The victim's eyewitness identification of Smith led to a grand jury indicting him on 2 counts of aggravated robbery, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of theft. And he was sentenced to damn near 70 years in prison. Smith was the only one tried, despite 2 alleged intruders invading the home. Smith spent his time in prison studied law. And he decided he would engage in a process to prove his own innocence. And Smith's defense attorney, there he is, Joseph Landusky, helped the case get a new trial and growing suspicions that evidence was withheld. During the new trial, June 2021, it was ruled by a judge. Prosecutors did, in fact, withhold evidence, right? That's against the law, by the way. Most notably, the initial narrative written by the officer who expressed total skepticism over whether a crime actually occurred. Furthermore, the officer implied the victims got their description of Smith from his former girlfriend, who was, and I quote, motivated to implicate him out of a desire for revenge, adding that pinning the alleged crime on Smith further shielded Smith's ex-girlfriend, Ann Rowe, whom the victims knew personally and who had knowledge of the basement safe. Let's put up the release. Talk about going through hell. This isn't even a crime that somebody else committed. The judge says he doesn't believe a crime happened at all. On July 2nd, 2021, Mr. Smith was released from prison on bond and was later freed from his ankle monitor September 2021. In December 2022, Smith filed his lawsuit against the state. While Smith has agreed to split the $1.3 million settlement with his attorneys, he also plans to use it to care for his family. Smith's fight for justice is far from over, however, as he has a pending federal lawsuit filed on February 7th against the former police officer, David Silvernail, and the former county prosecutor, Greg Marks, the city and Fairfield County. For those who may say systemic racism does not exist, let me ask you this. Do you think if they would have blamed this crime on a random white man, do you believe the outcome would have been the same given the fact there was no evidence to connect this random person to the crime? Of course not. You don't believe that. You believe evidence would have something to say inside of a court of law. Well, you would be right if everything was fair. But there is this sentiment that the evidence needed in a court of law for crimes like this is one thing, the color of your skin. Evidence enough. Tragedy on top of tragedy here. Here's the other dynamic you're not going to hear. Everything that I just highlighted is actually illegal. It is illegal for prosecutors to willfully withhold evidence that could exonerate a person. That's a material matter. It's not just an ethical violation, it is a legal violation. In addition to that, the officer who engaged in obstruction, that's felony obstruction and violation of oath of office, easy. They're going to court, yes, civil. Why have they not been arrested for this kind of miscarriage of justice? Why have they not been arrested for the actual illegal statutory dynamics they committed against this black male? It's not even discussed. It's not even talked about. It's not even proffered as an element or option. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
Mr. Smith is incredibly strong, a lot stronger than me or anybody I know, because for him to be able to persevere through these many years, knowing that he was innocent and be able to stand strong and eventually win is remarkable. There's no amount of money, either in the federal lawsuit or the lawsuit that he just settled that will make up for the lost time that he had, nothing. But it is remarkable that he is willing to sort of continue to push forward. And to your point, Dr. Richey, I mean, we say time and again that our justice system isn't perfect. And so many people say, oh, it's imperfect, but it's the best we got. No, it's not the best we have, because there are elements of racism. The system is racist in so many different ways, whether it's in terms of police behavior, whether it's in terms of prosecutions, whether it's in terms of juries. Everywhere you look in the justice system, there are racial problems with it. And until we are willing to embrace that and say, you know what? this is wrong. We need to have some sort of oversight. We need to have some sort of reform to fix this. This kind of stuff will continue to happen because unfortunately in America, it continues to be human nature.
That's right. We will continue to follow this story and give you the update of the federal lawsuit.